Well, let's change things up. Let's talk about AtariBox. If you didn't know, AtariBox is a thing. It is. Yeah.
I got an email about a little bit more about that too because I signed up for their mailing list.
Isn't that like being crowdfunded?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's going to be on Indiegogo and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I thought, and isn't Atari like a major publisher or something?
Yeah, can't they pay for their own stuff? They're afraid, and it seems like a lot of companies are like, hey, instead of investing our own money, let's crowdsource.
Well, at the same time, think about it this way: Atari has not been in the hardware business since 1995. Since the death of the Atari Jaguar, so it's been.
But aren't they still a pretty good size?
A long time. Not really.
Oh, they're not.
No.
I know they've been bought out a couple of times.
Yeah, and that's.
And they've been passed around.
They're owned by. They might not be a big company themselves, but they're probably owned by a big company.
No, Atari owns themselves.
Atari went bankrupt and were purchased by somebody. Can't recall who.
And welcome, producer of the show, Augur of Doom. How are you doing? Yeah, AtariBox, no longer the Atari of old, but you know that they're doing right things. They've got people. They put out a trailer for the AtariBox. Obviously, they've gotten people buzzed about the console. Atari's been in the news here lately for different product lines that they're putting out and things like that. And you know, they have been kind of like some of the Atari stuff that is out there is being distributed by Bandai Namco. So there is still Atari stuff out there in the video game world. It's just a little different. Infogrames, who I think were bought by Hasbro, is who bought Atari. Hasbro did own Atari at one time, but I think the new owners that own Atari now are French, so I don't know what the conglomerate or what the relationship there is, but AtariBox, everything we need to know. We can watch the trailer that they release if you guys want to. We'll do that real quick. Here's the.
It's like just a tease of the box.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a tease of the box. It looks good, but this is a CGI rendering of what it should look like and things like that.
Oh, that's not even the real thing.
No. And then okay, so of course we got this is another CGI renderings of what the boxes will actually look like. So there you go. There's that. They're planning to get this out in front of people in spring 2018, somewhere in there. It is an Indiegogo campaign, but they've came out here lately, recently, responding to what the AtariBox will actually be able to see. They did this really smart. They showed this is what it's going to look like. And
they said it's going to be a Linux machine too, so it's going to be open platform where you can play anything that supports the OS.
Yes, it is going to be a Linux base. It's going to be it's going to use a AMD processor, Radeon graphics. So it's going to be that mid-tier console. Here's the point. Here's the thing. It's going to be a $299.99 platform. It's going to be a $300 console. So,
but you could just build your own. If it's using Linux, you could build your own machine.
$300 console. It's going to play Atari classic games. It's going to play some indie games. It's going to play some PC games, maybe not at high settings for sure. It's going to be. Here's the thing. I'm betting that the power of this thing is going to be somewhere between a PS3 and PS4, somewhere between an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One, kind of like what the Nintendo Switch is, but it's trying to sell for the same price as those consoles, and that worries me, especially since Atari hasn't announced any new. Of course, you're going to be able to get the Atari Classic games, but there is no new first-party titles being announced for the system yet, and we don't know if Atari's actually working on anything or not. What do you guys think? Would you guys buy this?
No.
No, because the thing is I feel like you're just paying for the packaging, because if it's just a Linux PC, you could build your own pretty cheap and play all the same stuff that it would be capable of playing.
Yeah, but what games can you play on Linux right now?
Not very many. But
I don't know of one, but
well, I mean, if you use Wine, there are a lot of people who use Wine to play a lot of Windows-based games successfully with Linux. And then
I'll get to that in a minute, Auger.
I don't see a bunch of software developers lining up to make games for this console.
There are like a lot of older Steam
or third-party
games that have been ported to Linux.
So.
Yeah.
I don't see third-party publishers thinking about making games for this year. They're going to concentrate on their Microsoft. They're going to concentrate on the PS4, and they're not going to worry about Atari. This game here is the people that has money can invest this money, and they don't want to waste their own money.
Basically, though,
that's what I get from it. Yeah,
anything
the
you do on
drawing
this
looks great, but yeah. Some blowjo teenager in his basement can make a CGI drawing. Say, hey, look what I'm going to make. Hey, that looks good.
But also anything that this thing could play, you could play on an equivalent Linux machine that you build.
And I agree with you too on that.
Yeah.
Too.
You could build it cheaper probably than that.
But I hate to say,
Now, Linux systems are highly customizable, though. Let's keep that in mind too. So it will.
You can download a Linux operating system to your computer.
Yeah, no doubt. But this is a console. I'm
not a console player anyway. But if I'm going to buy a console, my first choice would be PS4 or the Sony console, then a Microsoft console. Then maybe some.
Augur of Doom says the AtariBox, I hope it failed. Such a worthless machine. It could process all Atari games with the CPU from a wristwatch. It sounds like a cash grab like the NES Mini.
Augur hit it right on the head there.
Sounds like a cash grab like the NES Mini, but the Atari era games, let's be real, they're not very fulfilling. I've not had the urge to go back and play boxing for 12 hours. I hear you. I feel you. There are some Atari games that, River Raid, the classic arcade games, right. They're going to be on this system. But and it's going to run third-party games. They've announced that it will run third-party games. Now, to what extent that means, is it just indie games?
Play on it.
Right. Is it just
announced that they're going to make games for it.
Right. We know they're looking to crack the indie market and try to get that big on there. We've seen this before. Here's the thing. We've had the Ouya. Do you guys remember the Ouya? It was that Android-based console. Tried to do the same thing. Tried to live in the same space. My problem here is I don't have doubt that Atari can put together a good box. I don't have doubts that they can draw attention in game designers to their box. I don't think that they have very much faith in it, hence why they're going Indiegogo, but they are just coming out of a bankruptcy, so I'll give them a break there, maybe, okay? If you take all that away, well, I'm just saying, if you take all of that away, who is the market for this thing? Because you can buy indie games on PS4, you can buy indie games on Xbox Live. They're all third-party consoles, plus you get a good lineup of first-party content there.
Now, if they made that box look cheap,
yeah, maybe.
Then maybe you think about it. I'm going to hit the casual game. I'm going to throw in $100 box here. Here's a gaming system that's you don't have to pay a whole bunch for. Play all your classic games and maybe some of the newer games too.
Do you think with the way Atari
Steam Link can do that with your PC games?
I know you can, but what I'm saying, I think it'd have a better chance if it sold itself as a cheap box and not try to go after these high-tech games and the Witcher 3s those type of games, but just go ahead and play some classics. We'll play some go into the casual gaming market like we did.
Well, with the way that they've done the AtariBox campaign so far, trickling out information, not all at once, but trickling it out every month or two. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that it's possible that Atari has some first-party new generation IPs out there that they are willing to make only on this system, maybe around the corner, that are not ready to be announced yet, but they're going to announce it soon, or because
I think they could have. Trouble is, as publishing goes, I haven't heard a lot out of Atari. Maybe there's some games out there that I haven't heard of, or I've heard of and didn't recognize they were made by Atari. I don't know.
Well, you got to remember that Bandai Namco does all of Atari's distribution, which means all the Dark Souls games are essentially Atari games.
Yeah, Atari games.
All the Dragon Ball games are essentially Atari games. All the Firm Software, the Bloodborns, the Neos, all those games are essentially Atari games. So is there a first-party thing around the corner that they've just not announced yet that could be coming to this system? That's what I'm asking.
If I'll give them a chance if they do like a Dark Souls type of game.
Here's the thing,
exclusively for that box. That'll help sell the box.
From the information that I've gotten, like from being on their mailing list, it's not really going to be any sort of proprietary platform. Basically, you're going to be able to play anything that can be played on a Linux PC, basically. So basically, if the software is going to play on this, then you probably will be able to play it on a regular PC that has Linux on it, or maybe even Windows. So there's really nothing, like, you're basically just paying for a box that looks the way they designed it.
Yeah, but the way DRMs on consoles work and stuff, I'm not convinced that like they couldn't put some first party content on here that wouldn't work on.
They could, but they said that they're not going to restrict. Like, you don't have to just basically they're going anything that you can play that supports the OS and the hardware, no matter who makes it, you'd be able to play it.
Right, but
saying, though, they might make a game that you can't play on other systems but their system.
I mean, that's possible.
That's what I'm saying. They may make software specifically for this. I understand that you can bring Linux games over. You could do that on early PS3 builds, where you can bring games over and play it on that system, but you couldn't take the PS3 first parties and play them on Linux. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember because I used to use Linux on my PS3 till they closed that off.
So that's what I was talking about. Augur says, if that was the plan, why wouldn't they say that? The AAA title's coming. Look, nothing about what they're doing has been traditional at all. They've been trickling out the information. Instead of doing it at one time, that has been their mold, to keep people talking about them, to stay relevant until this thing comes out.
Or
they've been trickling.
Got shit.
They've been trickling the information once every month, once every 2 months. We went a long time from the trailer to the actual reveal of the boxes. And then we went a long time from the reveal of the boxes to now. So
I tell you what, if I was a company and I didn't really have shit, hey, let's just piecemeal the freaking information out because we don't got shit. So if we just piece this out, we'll keep interest in there. We can come up with something by the time we come out with this box.
I understand that, but you got to remember the buzz that this is creating.
To get them interested, tease them.
Well, trouble is, if they had something like Auger's saying, if they had like a AAA, you come out and you announce it, then people get really excited. PS4 comes out here. We got this game coming out at their show. Now you're thinking, I want the latest PS4. I want to get this game, the Sony PlayStation, because I want to play those exclusives that are coming out. My God, they got some good games coming out. What's that zombie game that's coming out for the PS4? That hordes of zombies and stuff. You know what?
Days Gone, yeah.
Days Gone. You look at that and you go, my God, that almost makes me tempted to buy a freaking console. So I want to play that freaking game. You're excited about that game.
All right. Well, let's see what games, according to Tech Radar, and Tech Radar, trusted news source, it says, which games will it play? Well, that's a big question. After all, what is good for another console if it doesn't have great games to play on it? That was one of the most obvious problems with the Atari Jaguar, but that was more than 2 decades ago, and a completely different era for gaming, not to mention on notoriously complex hardware that was difficult to develop for. Atari says that the Atari Box will run classic games, digitally that is, whether they're built-in or downloadable or both, which makes tons of sense. After all, the NES Classic was a big hit, selling out every time it hit stores and leaving a lot of fans desperate and wanting when Nintendo opted to stop producing the box. The upcoming SNES Classic seems like it'll be another smash, given how impossible it has been to secure the pre-order for the 16-bit throwback device. Atari owns the rights to more than 200 different video game properties, including Pong, Missile Command, Asteroids, and Centipede. For a better hint what to expect from the company, just check out the Atari's Greatest Hit app for iOS and Android, which doesn't say a lot when it comes to actually buying the console if you're telling people to go check it out on phones. But anyway, it offers 100 classic
phone. You can play it on your phone. You don't need this.
So far, I'm hearing classic games.
Right. I'm getting there.
We already got things we can play the classic
All right.
games on.
It offers 100 classic Atari 2600 games that you can buy in small bundles, or you can unlock the entire library for $10. Obviously, Atari isn't going to release a custom piece of hardware, sell a $10 pack of games for it, and call it a day. That's why the company has also teased current content for the Atari Box, which will mean appearances by other more modern Atari franchises like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Test Drive, and Ghostbusters. That could mean ports of Atari games.
Oh man, those games just get me sick.
Yeah, I know. Aren't you just pissing your pants, Tech? You ready to grab those games?
Hold on.
Okay, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That could mean ports of Atari games we've seen on mobile platforms and the consoles of the last couple of decades, or even ported PC games. Maybe, but it could also mean brand new content. If the Atari Box is patterned more like the Ouya micro console, then it would serve as a platform for new experimental content of all kinds, especially from indie developers. That would seem to make a lot of sense, especially if the device ends up being powered by low-end PC processor, or perhaps even an Android with a mobile chip, which is not true. We already know it's Linux. So they're saying that they're guessing the same thing. Atari's got something that they're not announcing yet. That's something new.
If I was them, I would try to put something out there to generate excitement for them. Because right now, I'm not getting a lot of excitement for this dang freaking deal. Yeah, the people are interested because let's get some more information. What is this box about? But you don't know what this freaking box is about because you don't know what games are coming out for it. Oh yeah, we're gonna make. I can tell you right now on this TV, in Tilgar Pole's freaking basement, he's making a new freaking box game. He's gonna have games that are gonna be freaking better than Days Gone, Witcher 3. He's got those coming out, no problem. You can guarantee it.
Dude, Tilgar gets worked up. This is people paying.
I'm just saying because they're doing this through a crowdfunding source. I mean, I'm just not excited. That tells me right there they don't have a lot invested in this box.
I think that we should
because it's not like they're a small
crowdfunding thing,
small company or a small publisher.
Well, they are now. That's what I'm saying.
We're gonna come out with our own game console called the Stando TV Box, and it's gonna be Linux based, and it's gonna have great classic games, new games, and any games that will work on it.
If you got a AAA game out there, you should get a AAA exclusive game out on there. Show those off. Show the graphics on it. Show how great this is. Make people want to buy this console. That's why I think. Look at that. Look at the Sony. Again, I'm not a console player, but what does Sony have? Like 75% of the market on the consoles? I mean, I'm guessing. I don't really know. I'm just guessing there. Sony has a big lock on the console market, correct?
Yeah.
I think you know, right?
Let's do it, Stan.
And why do they have such a big lock on the console market?
Because of first-party games.
Because the first-party games. Remember during E3.
I agree. I'm not arguing with you.
Okay.
I'm just saying. No, I'm saying, what if Atari has something first party coming around? And that's what's going to be key to selling this thing. There's no point in putting out the box unless you have a first party thing.
But I'm telling you, if I didn't have anything out there, I'd put hints out there to keep interest in it, even especially if I don't got shit.
All right.
If I had something, if I had a great
reeling you in, Tilgar. I'm reeling you in, buddy.
I would throw it out there to generate a lot of talk on this game. On this
Okay.
box.
Okay. Here's what we do.
We got to move
you
on.
said-
We got to move on.
I'm
We're running
sorry.
out of time.
I'm-
That's okay.
No.
We got to move on.